Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video segment every single morning to help you catch up with things that you might have missed out on whilst you were catching up on some all important rest. Because let's face it, whilst you and I need sleep, and really the whole world needs sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. There's always something or the other going on, and it can be a little tough to keep a track of every single little development. But worry not, that's what we're here for. And let's start off with something that obviously has been, dominating news headlines a lot. India's loss to New Zealand in the third and final ODI of the series, which therefore handed New Zealand a first ever series win, ODI series win in India. There has been a lot of scanner on Shubman Gill, the captain. And this is where it really comes down to not just Gill, the captain, I would say, but Gill, the batter. Because yesterday, when he was dismissed from an in swinging ball by Kyle Jamieson, it followed a rather familiar pattern of him getting dismissed by similar balls. And he was criticized for it on air by Sunil Gavaskar, who said that his technique was facing such deliveries in white ball cricket needs to be better. He's saying that when he got runs in England, and it felt like the bat as well as his front foot, the front pad, were almost married to each other, so there was no gap. Saying now, though, there's a lot of gap that can be seen when it comes to how it is that he is playing those sort of deliveries. The criticism which came up for him was in his captaincy, and this is where it really comes down to how much authority that Gill can sometimes show, or how proactive he is, more importantly, on the field during the time when there are supposed to be major changes. So he was criticized by Ajinkya Rahane as well as Zaheer Khan for not changing bowlers often enough during the middle overs, specifically not giving Kuldeep and Jadeja overs at the right points in time. And this is again, I think, criticizing him for not using Jadeja enough doesn't really do much because again, Jadeja ended this series without getting a single wicket. But I do understand where it is that the criticism comes in from because, again, at times when in the middle overs nothing is happening, sometimes you'll need to force the issue a little bit. And that's something that Gill absolutely did not do. And in the post match press conference, Gill was the one fronting up to a lot of tough questions from the media. And he was questioned about Rohit's form in particular. And he said that no, Rohit Sharma, his form has been fine. If you look at his form, prior to that, in the Australia series and the ODI series, he was in good form, and I don't think his form as such is a concern. Yes, he's been unable to convert a few starts, but there are no concerns as such over his form. That is what he had to say when questioned on Rohit and whether or not his form in recent times has been a concern. One thing that has been a cause for concern for a lot of people, particularly the T20 World Cup organizers, the ICC, has been Bangladesh and their supposed participation. They say the Schrodinger's cat of participation as to will they or won't they, we don't really know. But according to some news reports, what we're getting to hear is that a call on their participation may be taken by January 21st, which is Wednesday. You could very well see a call being taken because as of now, there's a logjam and a stalemate of sorts. But ICC officials did go to Bangladesh to speak to BCB officials on the entire matter. And what we are getting to read in some reports, again, not verified by us, but the news reports claim that by January 21st, a call may be taken. So, assuming Bangladesh choose not to participate, they may very well get replaced. So, it is very interesting. And obviously, we'll keep an eye on that and see how it is that that particular story plays out as well. And last bit of cricket news before we move on to sports beyond that. The Sunrisers Eastern Cape managed to secure their spot in the top two of the SA20, and the top two spot finish is very important because again, the format of the playoffs in the SA20 mirrors that of the IPL. So you've got qualifier one, which is played between teams one and two, eliminator played between teams three and four, then qualifier two, which is played by the loser of qualifier one and the winner of the eliminator, who then goes on to reach the final to face the winner of qualifier one. So that's usually how it goes. For Sunrisers Eastern Cape, who, let's we forget, are two-time champions, them getting the top two is important because it means that they get two bites at the proverbial cherry. However, the team that they beat, which was MI Cape Town, bad news for them because they are rock bottom in the table and their chances of making it to the playoffs are done and dusted. No playoffs for MI. A very surprising thing to hear, but that is the reality in the SA20. Anyway, we'll switch our focus now to sports beyond that. And there has been a lot of talk about in the Premier League this year, Aston Villa, and the fact that they could have potentially been title challengers. But that's not really happening now because their title hopes have fallen off the cliff just a little bit, and it wasn't helped by the fact that they lost 1-0 to Everton at home, a home loss to a team that are mid-table right now at best, and at one point in time, many feared would be in for a relegation battle. Not the kind of result that Unai Emery would have wanted. Speaking of another team who have been embroiled in some sort of, let's say, crisis, Crystal Palace, their manager Oliver Glasner announced recently that he will not be renewing his contract. And he recently opened up and said that he was annoyed at the fact that Mark Guehi, their skipper, a deal to sell him has been made, and many are suggesting that Man City will be his next destination. And basically, when he was speaking in a press conference subsequently, it felt like he was begging for the sack. However, Palace have reiterated that they plan to continue on with him until the end of the season and see how it is that that goes. Another bit of football news, and this one's interesting. The African Cup of Nations final or AFCON final took place between Senegal and Morocco, and Senegal won it 1-0. But it was a controversial final to say the least because there was a penalty awarded to Morocco in injury time, and there was also a disallowed goal by VAR for Senegal. But the penalty awarding is what really pushed a lot of Senegal players over the edge. They walked off. There was a 14-minute delay. Then Brahim Diaz actually who took the penalty from Morocco. He ended up going for a penalty, fluffed his lines badly, and then in extra time was when Senegal managed to get the victory. So good win for them, really. But Morocco's wait for the first AFCON title carries on. The last time they'd won it was 50 years ago, and the wait still continues on for a team that are rising rapidly in African football. Last bit of news, and we'll switch to the world of tennis. Coco Gauff, last year's French Open champion, started off her Australian Open campaign with a pretty convincing straight set victory. 6-2, 6-3 was how she won it. And obviously, she's one of the favorites, along with, dare I say, Arina Sabalenka, the top ranked player. So it was always going to be interesting to see how Goff does. So far, though, so good, no hiccups whatsoever. Another player who will be hoping that there are no hiccups whatsoever because there's going to be all eyes on him, Novak Djokovic. Djokovic and his quest for the 25th Grand Slam title have been going on for quite some time. The last of his titles came in 2023. Since then, he's gone 2 calendar years without winning a Grand Slam. And last year, in particular, he ended up getting knocked out in the semis quite convincingly at times. Yannick Sinner, both times that he faced Sinner, he ended up losing in straight sets, Djokovic, that is. So it'll be interesting to see how it is that a Joko does in this particular Grand Slam. But that's it from us in this edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, if you enjoy our work, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. And stay tuned throughout the day for more such updates from the world of sport.